Keir Starmer is making an emergency dash to the northwest today, but not out of confidence. Behind the scenes, Labour is reeling. The numbers are in, the pressure is mounting, and Starmer knows exactly who's to blame. What he says today might be his boldest attack yet, but it's why he's saying it that tells the real story. Stay with us because what's unfolding could mark a turning point in British politics. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Keir Starmer is in full-blown panic mode today. And for good reason. After days of brutal polling numbers hammering Labour's standing in the north, the Prime Minister is now scrambling to salvage what's left of his credibility. He's rushing to the northwest this afternoon with a hastily arranged speech designed to scare voters away from Nigel Farage and Reform UK. But the truth is, it reeks of desperation. Why? Because for the first time in years, the red wall is crumbling against Labour, not for them. Starmer isn't leading a confident, forward-looking government. He's firefighting, and badly. And the more he speaks, the worse it seems to get. In this latest attempt at damage control, Starmer will accuse Nigel Farage of pushing Liz Truss-style economics, a tired, recycled talking point designed to paint Reform's policies as reckless. But the reality is, it's not working. Voters are no longer buying the doom and gloom scaremongering from Westminster elites. Starmer's speech, previewed by Labour HQ, includes lines like Liz Truss bet the House and lost, £45 billion in unfunded tax cuts, with no means to pay for them. Markets reacted, the economy tanked, and we're all still paying the price. And of course, he tries to lump Farage in with that exact same narrative. He claims Farage wants to gamble with your mortgage, your bills, your family's finances. But here's the problem for Starmer. People aren't afraid of Farage anymore. In fact, they're listening to him more than ever. Because while Starmer lectures from a podium, Nigel Farage is out on the ground, meeting voters, speaking plainly, and cutting through the spin. Just 2 days ago, Farage delivered a landmark policy speech that put real specific plans on the table. He addressed immigration, the cost of living, national sovereignty, and did so with clarity and conviction. And how did Labour respond? Not with a counter-offer, not with answers, just with fear. What's really rattled Starmer and his team isn't just Farage's speech, it's the polling that followed. According to new data from Merlin Strategy, exclusively shared with GB News, Labour is now trailing Reform by 7 points across the red wall. 7 points. These are not swing constituencies, these are traditional Labour strongholds, heartland seats that have been red for generations. And now, many of them are turning blue. Not Tory blue, Reform blue. It's no wonder Starmer's in meltdown. This isn't just about public perception. It's about survival. His so-called firewall in the north is collapsing. And with less than 2 days passing since that devastating poll, he's been forced to personally rush up to the region and beg voters not to listen to Nigel Farage. But it gets worse. Farage has now publicly challenged Starmer to a one-on-one debate, in a working men's club no less. A deliberate contrast to Starmer's carefully managed press conferences and donor-friendly venues. Will Starmer accept? Don't hold your breath, because deep down he knows what would happen in that room. He'd be exposed. You see, Starmer is comfortable when he's in control of the narrative. When he's got the BBC nodding along and the press pack asking pre-approved questions. But put him across the table from Nigel Farage on neutral ground, and suddenly the mask slips. The sound bites don't land, the numbers don't hold, the people stop clapping. What we're watching now is a Prime Minister who senses the momentum shifting and is scrambling to stop the bleeding. But it might be too late. The public is waking up, Reform is rising. And Starmer's Thursday Panic Tour might be remembered not as a comeback, but as the moment the wheels really started falling off. London Mayor Sadi Khan has been branded completely dopey after backing calls to decriminalise possession of small amounts of natural cannabis. Speaking to the media, Conservative London Assembly member Susan Hall called the move ridiculous and claimed the mayor is tinkering around the edges of tackling crime in the city. Khan urged ministers to consider the proposals despite the National Labour Party's opposition to changing drug laws. He said, "We must recognise that better education, improved healthcare, and more effective, equitable policing of cannabis use are long overdue." Criticizing Khan's call, Susan Hall told the media, "It's completely dopey, it's ridiculous, it's typical of Sadi Khan. If you talk to the commissioner, Mark Rowley, he hasn't asked for this. He's asking for more money so he can try and get some sort of order on our streets. This is utterly ridiculous, and I think the commissioner's cost over £250,000. That money could have gone into the policing service in London." Citing a section of the report which claims that small amounts should be allowed but not sold, Hall questioned how police officers are going to be able to tell the difference between personal possession and possession to sell. Hall explained, "It is about 350 pages, this report, and it says that small amounts should be allowed, but you're not allowed to sell it." Well, if a police officer stops somebody and they've got a smallish amount of drugs with them, how does that police officer know if that person's going to sell it, or whether they're using it for their own use? She added, "At the end of the day, if you look at knife crime, which is rife, a third of all knife crime in the country in England and Wales is in London, we need to be concentrating on things that are actually a real harm to Londoners and not tinkering around the edges. It's just press he wants, really. He is a ridiculous man." Stressing the connection of drugs to an increase in crime and burglary, Hall told GB News that what Khan is suggesting is total nonsense. Hall said, "The commissioner will tell you it increases crimes like shoplifting and burglary. There's real connections to it, whereas there isn't with alcohol. If you look at county lines where kids are getting into real trouble, it's all over drugs. And they do say that the softer drugs lead to harder drugs. We all know where that goes. So if the government wants to look at a complete look at the whole thing, what Sadi Khan is suggesting here is total nonsense." Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has strongly opposed the decriminalisation plans, warning of potential consequences based on international examples. Philp said, "Possession of cannabis should not be decriminalised like this. We've seen some US and Canadian cities devastated by soft policies on addictive and harmful drugs. Now Sadiq Khan wants to send London the same way." He accused Khan of being more interested in politically correct posturing for the benefit of his left-wing friends than he is making London a safe and nice place, adding, "I completely oppose these plans." In conclusion, Sadiq Khan's support for the decriminalisation of small amounts of natural cannabis has sparked a fierce backlash from political opponents who view the move as misguided and irresponsible amid ongoing concerns over crime in London. Critics such as Susan Hall and Chris Philp argue that the mayor is prioritising ideological gestures over tangible solutions to pressing issues like knife crime, drug-related offences, and street safety. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.